Thank you, Madam Speaker. How we measure the value of things says a lot about who we are as a people and as a society. Currently, we measure the performance of our economy by gross domestic product. GDP measures the market value of all goods produced and services provided in a given period of time. When the consumption of goods and services goes up, so does the GDP, regardless of whether the effects on people and society is positive or negative. For example, if a couple gets a divorce, it's great for the GDP. There are lawyers' fees to pay, and if the divorce proceedings go to court, the bills are even higher. The former spouses now have separate homes and a greater expense than when they lived together. If they have children, the cost of setting up two homes for the kids increases expenses even more. If things go horribly wrong and an angry spouse burns down the family home or totals the car, that's a bonus to GDP growth. But what is the real cost of all of this economic activity? Healthy family relationships are integral for childhood development, and many divorces have a negative impact on that development. GDP doesn't account for the personal and social value of happy, healthy families. GDP also doesn't account for the value of a healthy, biodiverse environment. When you're only measuring GDP, an old-growth forest ecosystem has no value until it has been clear-cut and turned into lumber. Nobel Prize-winning economist Joseph Stiglitz is among the economists arguing that gross domestic product fails to capture the impact of climate change, inequality, digital services, and other phenomena shaping modern societies. He points out that GDP failed to reveal distortions in the bloated U.S. housing market, which triggered the 2008 financial crash. Some economists refer to GDP as gross depletion of the planet. At 3% GDP growth annually, we double the size of our economy every 24 years. That means we double the exploitation and consumption of resources, which is completely unsustainable. If all humans consumed and disposed of products and materials the way the average North American did, we would need 7 planets for the necessary resources. GDP only values things that could be commodified. In a society where GDP is the main measurement, efforts to protect the environment can never succeed. There might be occasional small wins, but the endless drive to turn everything into money always triumphs because exploited nature has no value on a balance sheet. The crash in biodiversity is an inevitable result of an economy and society that only values GDP growth. While it wouldn't make sense to completely eliminate GDP as a measurement, it needs to be tied to other indicators, such as the United Nations Human Development Index, which adds together consumption, life expectancy, and educational performance at the country level, or GPI, the Genuine Progress Indicator, which incorporates environmental and social factors which are not measured by GDP. For example, GPI would decrease in value when poverty rates increase. The GPI separates the concept of societal progress from economic growth. Madam Speaker, it's time to adopt measurements of well-being that support healthy, happy humans, healthy and happy societies, and a healthy, resilient environment. Thank you.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Finance and Deputy President.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I thank the Honourable Member for his thoughtful analysis and commentary as always. He cited Joseph Stiglitz, who recently put together one of the most important books that I've read over the past few years. He hypothesizes in the book that it's essential that we not only pursue GDP, but that governments should focus on improving the quality of life for middle-class citizens that reside within their borders. If it is our collective hope as a nation, and I would suggest it should be, to improve the quality of life that Canadians enjoy, then it is essential that we do a better job of measuring what matters. Madam Speaker, thankfully, we have already started this important work of going beyond GDP to improve the quality of life of Canadians by focusing on their health and safety, the access they have to a healthy family situation, and taking action to protect our environment and ensure that the growth that we do experience is both sustainable and inclusive. Before I get too far, I do want to emphasize the importance of recognizing that GDP does have a role to play. We should not, for a moment, necessarily reduce the importance of focusing on how investment can grow the economy, or the importance of managing our fiscal situation in a prudent way. In fact, these elements of governance are essential to achieving a high quality of life. But increasing Canada's GDP is not in and of itself enough. As Canadians, we have been going through a challenging time together this past year and a half. This pandemic has made it abundantly clear that our quality of life is so much more than our country's gross domestic productivity. And the people that are in our lives are far more important than the money that is in our bank account at the end of every month. Our ability to thrive is linked to our health and safety, to good housing, to access to the outdoors, access to clean water, education, leisure time with our friends and family, social connections, and so much more. Our government agrees with the vast majority of Canadians. It is time to move towards a much more holistic decision-making process, and one that takes these factors into account. I'd point the honourable member to Budget 2021, where we brought forward Canada's first ever quality of life framework, located in Annex 4 for those who want to dig in. And I do want to congratulate in particular the Minister of Middle Class Prosperity, who I have the honour and privilege of working alongside, for all of her incredible work in bringing this framework forward. This has helped guide budget-making decisions in the most recent budget that will in fact enhance the quality of life for Canadians. It helped lead to the decisions to formulate Canada's first ever national and affordable universal childcare system, a robust climate plan that's going to create jobs and protect our environment for generations to come, and to focus investments not only on growth, but also on measures that will improve the quality of our healthcare system and mental health in particular, and so many other aspects of this recent budget. This is a made-in-Canada approach that goes beyond looking at traditional macroeconomic indicators and will be used to actually enhance the quality of life that Canadians experience day to day. By using a broader suite of indicators, measuring, for example, factors such as mental health, the environment, employment, and social trust, our government is going to be able to better measure and evaluate the impacts of key initiatives that are essential to Canadians' well-being. This includes looking at the distribution of outcomes and opportunities across demographics and places, and whether today's prosperity could potentially undermine the future living standards of the next generation. We need to ensure that gender equality, diversity, and the well-being of Canadians are at the center of decision-making, and it's fundamental if we're going to create a thriving and successful country that reflects our values as a nation, that we actually implement those values in the decision-making process. Frankly, Madam Speaker, and I see I'm nearly out of time, this is the right time for this framework. As we look forward to rebuild the inclusive growth...
Honourable Member for Nanaimo, Ladysmith.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd like to thank the honourable member for his very thoughtful comments. There's a term that some thinkers use to describe our current economic model, and that's a self-terminating civilization. And in the pursuit of greater and greater economic growth, we are driving ourselves towards extinction. So measurements of economic well-being must account for environmental degradation and social costs. And I'm glad to see the government moving in this direction. We need to strive towards a circular economy with zero waste so that every product has a full life cycle plan in its components. And our shared goals should be to eliminate poverty and homelessness, improve healthcare outcomes through expanded healthcare services, mental health, dental care, pharma care, providing free education from preschool through post-secondary, and leave a healthy environment for our children and grandchildren. Doing better starts by placing a value on things that really matter for our survival: clean air, clean water, nutritious food, and a safe and secure place to live. Thank you.
The motion to adjourn the House is now deemed to have been... Oops. Oh, I'm sorry. You have 1 minute to answer. Yes, the Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. I'm really sorry.
It's no problem. I lost my last minute. I can't lose this one too. Madam Speaker, I'd like to thank the honourable member sincerely for his approach to this issue and so many others. In the 1 minute that I have to conclude, it is essential that we see the value of a forest before it is cut down. It is essential that we see the value in the time we spend with our families, not just at our desks or at our place of work. If we want to focus, as we should, as I mentioned at the outset of my remarks, on ameliorating the quality of life that Canadians enjoy, then we need to measure what matters. That includes bringing into the decision-making process a focus on ensuring all Canadians can benefit in economic growth, ensuring that that growth is sustainable, and that we don't put the almighty dollar ahead in concern for families' well-being. Thank you, Madam Speaker. It is an honor to speak to this issue today and every day.